All right, LOL Podcast Season 1, Episode 7. I am joined here by.
Lyle, hello, what's up, everybody?
Hello. So, what did you want to talk about today, my good friend?
I just kind of wanted to talk about the off season as a whole, but more specifically, kind of like C9's off season, and if benching or not even benching, just absolutely removing Sneaky off the main team was a good choice or not.
Oh man, you're gonna trigger a bunch of sneaky fanboys.
Oh yeah,
Oh yeah, if I could cosplay like Sneaky, I'd be rich.
oh yeah. So, I think my main idea, my main overall idea is that it it wasn't a bad move. I think they could have stuck with Sneaky, but I could see the reason why C9 went for that because it like people just automatically think it's like, oh, Jack, he's like, going for the money. And I don't necessarily think so. When you think about it, I think he was just doing it for more as the team rather than, Sneaky. He's not obligated to have Sneaky on the team. I know like you should kind of have some bias towards the person that's been there since day one and has been committed to the team since day one. But if you kind of haven't had any success, especially in the bot lane, I mean, like he does okay. I'm not saying he's a bad bot laner compared to a lot of bot laners in the LCS. I think he's pretty good. But when you don't see any, amazing results, or you don't see a lot of improvement, I feel like you kind of have to take that initiative and, maybe try to switch something up. And I mean, they did, they've had so many supports down on the bot lane. And I feel like, every iteration has been, different in its own way, but, it's kind of always had the same result. There's been no or, any, um, they haven't won any splits since way back in the day, and
2014
maybe
spring, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
2014 spring. So it's like you got to think about it in Jack's perspective, which is like you have mid, that's good. You have top, that's good. Jungle, that was a bit interesting. I will say for that one that kind of was a money grab in Jack's part, but I don't think it was necessarily a bad move still because Blabber is still an amazing jungler. We still have to think about C9 has raised so many good players, and C9 is the team that has produced so many players and that are still in the LCS. A lot of old C9 players are still playing to this day. So I think them taking the risks is what has been leading them to, this success so far. I mean, not summer and spring championships, but still, they're still always holding top three. They're always holding top three. So I don't think this was necessarily a bad move, but it is an interesting move nonetheless.
See, it's hard for me because for me, I come from a traditional sports background. So seeing star players leave or veteran players leave is actually just the name of the game. Let's see if I can make a comparison. Like Michael Jordan left the Bulls at one point, and Bull fans had to understand that, well, he got older, he had to retire. Who else? Kobe Bryant. Eventually, the Lakers had to move away past Kobe Bryant, and you had LeBron James moving off of all of his teams that he had been on for years. Actually, look at all those baseball players that were on their legacy teams for years, and at that certain point, you have to make that transition. You have to be able to transition away from that player and grow a new identity. I remember when Cloud9 first let High go. For the first couple of splits, it was a little rough at the very few beginnings. I remember 2016 summer when they actually just got away from high balls and that type of roster when they went with Impact, Meteor, Sneaky, Jensen, and who was it, Smoothie and Bunny Fufu. A lot of people were very skeptical, and they're like, nah, C9's probably just going to end up, they can't hold their own without High. And then later on, they got to finals, and then later on, they made it to top 8 at Worlds of that year. So people need to understand that change is going to be inevitable no matter where or how you choose to perceive it. In life, things change. Your job, things change. And the thing you said about Jack and looking at it from his perspective is, imagine being at a job and you being the boss and you have a partner who is consistently just not really showing any improvement in a very long time. And people always will switch everybody out on Cloud9 except for Sneaky. Like the top always gets switched out, the jungler gets switched out, the mid always gets switched out, the support. Well, what about trying someone different other than Sneaky? C9, and as much as I love the org, will never actually know what else can C9 achieve without him. I'm not saying he's a bad player. He's always been what? Top 5, top 4, arguably.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
So how would we know what's going to be better if we don't try anybody out. Like, if people want to say he's been really good, I mean, look at that 2018 semifinal against Fnatic. He got destroyed by Reckless. But we're just supposed to forget about that, right? We're just supposed to erase that from our minds. Or what about the this past year, the summer split final, where he got destroyed by Doublelift? People said he didn't play that badly. If you watch the games, he got absolutely destroyed. In the games that mattered, the last game, that was horrendous. He got beaten by every single AD carry at Worlds this year. Perkz just started playing bot lane this year. Sneaky did worse than Perkz in bot lane than Doublelift did. That's just like, he said that they had counter picks and that they were trying to run counter picks into Zyra Khan, and nothing worked. And I just think that the org just needs a different identity from him. It's nothing that he ever did wrong. I like the guy. I've spoken to him. I just think that the C9 org just needs to change, and we'll never know how good of a change that can be unless you try it out. So
yeah, and I think when you think of the whole, like, okay, so what could have they chosen, right? So like, let's say, okay, we're gonna remove Sneaky. So like, you see, you have this whole table of options for AD carries, and honestly, I think that Sven was a pretty good AD carry for being in region, right? For already being there and not importing anybody else. I think Sven was a pretty good pick, and I pulled up some stats. I know in a podcast you did, I don't know if it was your last one or the one before that, that stats are kind of they're misleading.
Well, just for League. Well, just for League. Yeah, because League, you can't really know what the outcome, like, how to say, so the Shy had the lowest ward proximity for any top laner at Worlds. No one would ever say the Shy is garbage. You see, like...
And I have a couple statistics I'd like to share. And okay. I don't necessarily, when I say these, I don't necessarily mean that Sven is, just so much better than Sneaky. It's just kind of like an insight on, what could Sven do compared to Sneaky, right? So if we look at the 2018 summer split, 19, sorry. We see that Sven has a 78 kill participation percentage compared to Sneaky's 17. Now, when I see this kill participation, I see, okay, Sven, he's going to be more aggressive. He's going to be more active in team fights. Sneaky's always kind of been like, when he's in a team fight, I feel like he's there. I feel like he's not really doing much. I feel like he doesn't really pop off. I don't feel like he's aggressive. With people like Blabber coming in this split and being the starting, and you have Licorice, maybe what C9 needed was that aggressive AD carry. Maybe they needed that little, aggression in the bot lane, and that's maybe what will push them, over the edge compared to the Sneaky whoever bot lane we've seen in the past years. And then you kind of see a little bit. I got some more stats. Like, Sven has a higher goal difference at 10. He has a 13, and then versus Sneaky's 97. 90. Sneaky's seen to be. I think he's one of the worst. I don't remember what position he was in terms of ranking, but he's pretty bad when it comes to gold.
What else? Did he say on his stream? He said, "Oh, I didn't play that bad." Now he did mention that he only watched the games he won. Then I was like, "Wait a minute. What about the games you lost? Did you watch the games you lost?" See, it's those type of things too that people just don't really like hear, like the very fine print of what somebody is saying. He said, "Oh, Sneaky said he didn't play that badly." I mean, he's not gonna say he played like garbage. What the heck?
I think Sneaky was really thinking more of like, he wasn't playing as bad as he was before, which was pretty bad in my opinion.
Yeah.
And I like Sneaky, like I said. I'm not trying to trash on him.
Yeah, I would never do that.
But he definitely did not have a good year. And if we look at it, and then we look at, it's more than this, just Sven, right? We have Vulcan in the bot lane. And then I'm sure you saw it was a Doublelift stream clip, or I don't know if he was on Travis Gafford's podcast or whatever. I don't remember where he was saying it, but he was talking about how he thought Vulcan was one of the top 3 supports in the region.
See, it's very hard to say that, but I can understand it from this year's perspective, because there wasn't really much beside CoreJJ and then basically Biofrost, and after that the field. You know how last year at Worlds it was like KT Rolster, it was IG, KT in the field. Well, that's how it was for me for like NA supports. It was like CoreJJ, Biofrost this year, and then it was pretty much just like, I don't know who's gonna take up that spot as like third best. I mean, Zeyzal and Sneaky played really well in spring, and that's what bugged me. I thought, because people who watch the channel knew I put Sneaky in my All Pro ADC first place in spring, and that's like, where did this drop off come from? Like, where did this happen? Like, he played really well in spring, and so did Zeyzal.
Yeah, I think in Sprint Split they did really good, and I think Zeyzal his rookie year was just doing amazing. Like 2018, he was just popping off, as his first time being on the LCS stage, and I feel like Zeyzal became more of like just a he went from this amazing support to like this kind of like, now he's at like the tier where it's just like, okay, he's doing his job, but he isn't doing anything insane. He's not really doing anything,
Do you think it,
innovating in the bot lane.
do you think it was an internal issue or it was a synergy issue? Like, it's just not clicking anymore.
With Sneaky Zazel,
Yeah.
um, that I would say it's kind of more like a synergy issue, perhaps. I mean, honestly, it could be
The
anything.
only thing I can allude it to is like, say if you're dancing with your girlfriend, like bot lane to me is like it's like a dance. You both have to move at the same rhythm. You both have to know what you're gonna do next, and one person leads, one person follows. I feel like somewhere, maybe if they're scrimming somewhere during summer split or at Worlds, that just became just gone. Somewhere it
Yeah,
was not working in. It happens. Maybe they're not the right ADC and support for each other. And seeing Vulcan, I have high hopes for him. I don't think he's bad. I don't agree with the valuation of his buyout. That was just ludicrous.
yeah,
200K is probably what he's probably worth.
yeah,
A million dollars is what you pay for Core JJ. If I don't get Core JJ results, I'm gonna be pretty mad.
yeah. And when I look at the move itself, when I see the Zazel compared to Vulcan, I think it's like a 50-50. I think replacing Zazel isn't like crazy. I think he did his job and I think he did it pretty well. But I think, taking that risk with Vulcan, I mean, he's still pretty new to the scene. He was on scouting grounds the same year Blabber was on. So he's only really been in it for like a complete 1 or 2 years. Um so I think he has a lot of potential, and he wanted to play with Sven. He chose to play with Sven. They wanted to play with each other. So you have these two people who want to play with each other. You have Vulcan who made it to Worlds with a. I'll be honest. I think Clutch Gaming had a pretty meh roster, and I was pretty impressed when they made it to Worlds. So I'm thinking like, imagine Vulcan with a even better AD carry this year. I think Cody Sun is good, but I think Sven will do much better than Cody Sun will. And then you have like a different environment. I think C9 is a bit more, they're a bit more relaxed, but they know what they're doing compared to, I know Reapers know what he's doing compared to maybe whatever going on at Clutch Gaming / Dignitas. And yeah, that's just what I think about the bot lane as a whole. I think Sven was a good pickup. I think Vulcan was a good pickup. But compared to like, what else could we have gone? I mean, it's not like we could have, bought out Doublelift and Core JJ. But what do you think about, Sven and Vulcan as a combo? Hello?
What? What the fuck?
That was weird.
That was weird. Sorry about that. Were you there?
Yeah. Did you hear what I said?
Yeah. Oh, sorry, my mic just randomly got popped out. Sorry, guys, who are watching that. I'm super sorry about that. Sorry about that. Okay,
No
so
worries.
back to it. Sven and Vulcan. Okay, so I think that Vulcan will be a stylistic better pick for Sven because Smoothie likes to make a bunch of aggressive plays. He likes to always be active on the map. He likes to make the big play, likes to dive consistently. Whereas Sven, when I saw them play this year, Sven wasn't really all about that, and he needed to do that when it was asked of him, but it's how would I say this? It's like being at a job and being thrown out of your comfort zone, expecting to follow somebody else's lead rather than, you're doing it because you want to do it. And I think that with Vulcan, it'll just naturally flow differently, which will create a better bot lane in the long run. I think that getting Sven right now is technically a side grade, but in the long term is a better upgrade in terms of the skill potential. I say skill potential. Yeah, skill potential as he's shown over the, his past and where he could potentially go, because Sneaky, I don't really think he understands the layer of what he could do better, because he always says it's a team issue. But what if you individually play bad? That's not a team thing. Like, if you go 0-7 and 0's Cassiopeia, that's not a team thing. That's you just getting destroyed. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And I don't want to put the blame completely on Sneaky, because I think the Cassiopeia games, I think the games where he's like not on a traditional marksman, I don't know if that was his choice to do that or if that was Reaper's choice. I feel like whoever's choice that was, that kind of played into the issue of, he's not performing because he's playing these like weird champions like Cassiopeia. He's playing all these whatever, and I don't necessarily think that he was the champion pool was favoring him, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Like at Worlds last year, I think the champion pool favored him, and I think that's why he did better last year. But this year it's been kind of rough with all the bot lane stuff that's been going on. So I don't put the blame completely on him, but to say that he it was completely a team issue, I don't necessarily think that's true.
I think what happened with the team, because when I was looking at them going into the Worlds in general, it was more like, are they getting out of the group because fans want them to, or are they getting out because they're going to get out on their own merit of team play and coordination? Because going in, that group had the two of the best teams at the tournament. So it's just like, what can you really expect? Is that more of a hope, or is that just based off of, can they actually get out of that group because that team was supposed to outperform? Like, they would have had to massively outperform those teams in order to even get out of the group.
Yeah, and I think that's a good question, and every time someone brings that up, I like to bring their attention to the 2018 Worlds, where they had an also really difficult group. You can apply that same thing to last year's group, and they made it out fine. I think they made it out great, and I think that they could have made it out. I think that they had some definitely hard opponents for sure, but I just think that the motivation, maybe mentally, they were thinking like, okay, this is kind of already a loss. People are gonna expect us to do bad, so maybe we don't try as hard, and we won't feel as bad if we lose because, oh well, people think that we're gonna lose anyways. I think they definitely could have done it, despite it being a hard group. I just think that maybe Sneaky's motivation, or maybe just the motivation of the whole team as a whole, wasn't there.
Because last year, it was that, remember how I think Reaper and Zeyzal said like they were doing just garbage in scrims and they threw their whole entire style out the window and then changed it on the fly. I was like, what NA team is crazy enough to do that? And then it worked, because if TL tried that, TSM tried that, they just don't want to adapt. And then I'm thinking to myself, if they can throw out their entire strategy in one day and then get out of a group of death, I was thinking to myself, what was the problem this year? It was just, see, that's why I know that's not an excuse. We're there like, we couldn't get out. It's like, you literally did it the year before. And if people want to be really more technical about it, you go back to 2016 Worlds. People said they weren't going to get out with EDG or SKT. People said they weren't going to get out with Alliance and Najin White Shield in their group. So it's weird for people to come and say the group was too hard. What about those other 4 other hard groups we had?
Yeah, they definitely could have made it through, in my opinion. Definitely.
Yeah, because you can't say those other 4 groups are impossible, yet make it out of those, but this one just be so much more. But then again, the teams were better. I think that they could have beat Griffin. Were in shambles. That's just kind of sad, because Griffin weren't even like people. They looked like they were robots on stage from all the drama that was going on with them.
Yeah, I think you look back at last year's Worlds, it's almost the same roster except for mid lane. You had RNG, you had literally the world champions from last year. You had the projected world champions for that year. You have the world champions from last year, and then you have a pretty decent EU team. And then you look at this year where you have what was it? Was HKA was in their group?
Hong Kong Attitude, Griffin and G2.
Yeah, so it's like, okay, G2, I'm not expecting anybody to do better than G2. And G2 was just so good, but HKA was a given. I'd hope they'd win against HKA. And then Griffin, I was expecting it to be close, but that they'd still come out on top, at least.
You got that close part right. That first game had you going for a minute.
Yeah. It was close, but definitely not the outcome, and I thought they could definitely do better. I'm just not sure. I think it was more of a motivation thing. And I think that
They got destroyed in
maybe
scrims. I can already see it
yeah,
right now. They play like 2 days of scrims versus Griffin and getting just blitzed.
yeah.
Niski, people just don't really bring up Niski. I think Niski looked horrible.
I think
First world
okay, so
jitters.
yeah, I think so. I don't want to say that was completely. Um, like I said, I think the meta at the time was weird. I think it would be hard to compare this year's in like terms of Niski, like compare this year's C9 versus last year's C9 because Jensen was popping off last year, 2018 Worlds, and I think I would attribute a lot of C9 success last year at Worlds to Jensen. I think as a whole, Niski didn't do bad this year. I think he did pretty freaking good. Um, I think that with his first year on the team, I think he did pretty good, and I think there's a lot more to learn. And I think that maybe he doesn't because there's the whole thing going on with his sneaky or his sneaky's teammates don't want to play with him anymore. So like if that's true, and
Mm-hmm.
you have people that and then you bring in these new people that they want to play with, then they're gonna try harder. So I mean, and it's Sneaky's or not Sneaky's, Niski's first year. He's got a lot of room to improve. He did all right. I mean, they still placed as they usually do in the, and he took they'd usually do it in the split, and then they took Team Liquid to a 5-game series, which isn't bad at all. I think he did good for his first year. Not as good as Jensen, but I think he did what was expected of him.
Yeah,
And I think
I've watched this guy for years, man. I've watched him on Fnatic Academy. I watched him on Envy. I've watched him on Splice. I got everything. I got everything I expected out of him. He wasn't gonna be Jensen, Bjergsen, Crown level. I wasn't expecting that. But at least I don't want some feeder. That's what I don't want.
yeah,
That's the worst. I don't want a Demonte level player. I know that's fine for other teams. They can have that type of player, but I don't want that here because that is just not the level of which I think C9 fans are accustomed to. Even when like we had High, I mean, yes, you didn't expect a lot at a certain point, but he still contributed a lot.
yeah. And I think Niski did his part. I think he did his part during the splits. And I think with the performance he put up now, and there's still time ahead of him. I'm sure they're gonna keep Niski for at least another year or two, probably more if he performs. Actually, probably less if he performs. Now that I think about it. uh,
he's just
but
he's gonna be unemployed outside in LA. Hey, looking for a job.
more like he's gonna be on another team, and Wallet or Jack's gonna have a nice wad of cash in his wallet.
Yeah, people said C9 is broke. It was rumored Evil Genius gave them just about as much as Dignitas gave Huni. Yeah, they are not broke.
I do not think they're
If
broke.
they were broke, people need to understand. If someone's broke, you literally start showing signs of that. I don't know what
Yeah.
people think. They would literally be like, people. Okay, I can get into that right now. People are morons, man. They break my brain.
Yeah.
There's no
Um,
way Jack is broke. It's
No.
crazy.
No, not at all. Yeah, I think Niski did a good job. And then, let's look at, jungle. You
Okay.
have Blabber. I think he has learned a lot from Sven Skaren.
Yeah.
And it's going to be hard to predict how he's going to do because the jungle is looking very different coming into next season. You have all these jungle changes, you have these dragon changes. So I think what's going to happen here is, for my predictions on,
Okay.
C9 on their spring split, I'm not expecting them to win spring split. Usually, people are like, oh, you never expect them to win. I think usually in the past years they've had what it's taken to win. But this year you're looking at a whole new bot lane, and you're looking at a semi-new jungler-ish kind of. You have Niski, Blabber, and they're gonna have to work their stuff out on stage. They're gonna have to find what works for them, and I think they probably already have some of that figured out. But Blabber still hasn't had, all that much stage experience. I mean, he has played Worlds 2018, he played Worlds 2019, but he hasn't had, the full split experience. He hasn't had, all the whole shebang. So, you got to give him a little time. You got to give him the spring split. I'd give them a split, and then you could kind of see like how they're gonna do. And if bot lane has that immediate synergy, I mean, they're boot camping right now in Korea, so I'd hope they have a good, decent synergy when they start. But I'd give them a split, maybe a year to kind of figure their quirks out.
Yeah.
I'd hope for them to see a more accurate version of how their team would perform at Worlds. I'm expecting them, to be completely set during Worlds and towards the end of Summer Split. Um, I just think that a lot of people need to have patience when it comes to having a whole new bot lane and moving an academy player up to the starting stage.
People are not going to be very happy if let's say, because this is the type of Cloud9 roster that goes like 5-0 first 3 weeks, and then later on you start seeing issues, and then later on you're like in 4th place, getting knocked out in quarterfinals. Like, I'm not gonna say that's the exact outcome, but it's weird to say, like, this could either be a good roster heading off from the start because of their early synergy building, or it could be a roster where you see issues like the TSM roster that went to finals in Season 6. I mean, going to finals is that I'd be fine with that, because that's not even what is predicted. They're predicted for a lot of early power rankings by a lot of people either 4th or 3rd. Now that's actually not that bad, but you're thinking like they're not, because TSM's roster does look better.
Mm-hmm.
TL's roster looks better. 100 Thieves, Dignitas are still kind of their bigger, like, middle of the table adversaries. FlyQuest looks better. CLG looks really decent as well, because Crown looked really good.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really hard to say, actually.
It's hard to say, and I don't like to say that a certain team is going to do good, because I mean, if you look at when Sven first came into TSM, and you had the starting roster of Mike Young, Bjergsen, you had Broken Blade, and then you had Sven and Mithy in the bot lane, right? That was projected to be, they were projected to be top 2, top 3 by like everybody.
Oh yeah. I remember that.
Although these teams on paper sound really good, there is a chance they flop. And I'd like to say this. I think that TL this year has a big chance to flop. I think Broxah was a bad move. I think Broxah wasn't what they needed. I think they needed Xmithy. I think they needed the brand power Xmithy brought to the team, and not more of a mechanical player. Can they do good? For sure, absolutely. They could kick ass more than they kicked ass last year.
Yeah.
But I think they took a big risk this year, and I didn't think they needed to move Xmithy out, especially since he didn't retire at the end anyways. If he retired, you know what? Makes sense.
Well, to be fair, his contract ended, and it was more of a staff thing. Most of the teammates said they didn't want to remove him.
Yeah, I'm sure they didn't want to remove him. They had a great team. They were winning splits 4 in a row.
Yeah.
So I'm sure his teammates didn't want him to be gone. It's just, I think that I'm sure Xmithy would have stayed. I'm sure he would have stayed if Steve offered him the contract to stay.
You know how Steve does it. If you see another good player at Worlds doing well in another team, it's basically like owner scouting is what I call it. The owners are watching all of these international players they don't see in their own region for the first time. He's probably, because you got to factor into yourself. Okay, you picture TL in their matches against like IG and stuff. So you think in that moment, in that very game, what could I have done to make my team get out of groups? And he thinks in that moment, if I had Broxah, I could have beaten IG. That's how an owner would think it. And that's how probably C9 probably thinks. Like, I'm not going to lie, man. It felt pretty bad getting knocked. I mean, I had predicted G2 and Cloud9 to get out, but I didn't think Cloud9 was going to get destroyed like that. That looked really bad.
Yeah.
So you're thinking to yourself as an owner, what if I have these guys in there next year? Do I get a better result? Do I get semifinals again? Do I get Worlds Finals potentially?
Yeah, and I think to a certain point, you think like that. You always think like that. What could I do to make this better? But I think the thing is that a lot of people jump the gun when it comes to, okay, let's switch out this player. Let's switch out this player. Let's switch out this player. Like, you have to wait a second and wait for them, to get their stuff together, right? You can't just be making these moves every single year. I mean, TL didn't make this move. They didn't make a. Well, I mean, they do make a move every year, and I think this is what's going to be the downfall of TL in the future. Is that they're going to have this like feeling like, okay, we need to improve something. We need to improve something. I don't think you need to improve, something. Maybe you just need to figure out how could we improve what we already have instead of, let's just buy something and let's hope it works. For C9, I think that was necessary because there is a lot of years behind this uh, bot lane not doing too well, or we don't have any more. We don't have any championships, so there is this, like, I understand the push for them to buy something there, um, but for something like TL, I don't really think that was necessary. I think they could have stayed with Xmithie and still performed just as well, if not better.
It depends though, because Xmithie internationally compared to Xmithie domestically raises the question of where do their priorities lie? As we know now, their priorities lie with international. And Xmithie, no disservice or discredit to him, international junglers just like destroy him.
Mm-hmm.
So you're thinking to yourself, okay, if TL have proven they can win splits already, what if I have a better international jungler? See, but it depends, like, are you going with that, or are you going with team synergy? Because just because he's an individual better player to a really marginal degree, will that actually translate to more success? That's hard to judge though, because I think that Cloud9's, you could argue, is it a side grade, is it a downgrade? They actually got a side grade based off last year's performance.
Yeah. So yeah, I agree with that. It's a risk, and I understand why TL would try to, like, look for that international success. And that makes sense. But, like, you kind of have to think about it as in, like, all right, so, or, like, I'm talking about more of, like, C9. Like, you have to think of, like, your competition, right? So you have all these players or all these junglers in the LCS, and then you have Xmithie, and then you bring in, like, someone like Broxah, which is going to take up an import slot.
Yeah, you're right. He does.
Yeah, so it's like, you could have used that somewhere further down the line. I think that Xmithie wasn't really worth giving up, because then you give up that spot, you probably are paying Broxah a way fatter check than you're paying Xmithie. And I think that you could work those kinks out internationally, and
because it was actually more of a team problem. They played like it was season 5. It was playing too slow. What did they think was gonna happen? You play against a fast-paced team to a slow-paced team. I don't understand what their issue of. They thought it wasn't really a team player issue. It was more of a, you're just not playing quickly.
Yeah,
that's more of a draft issue actually, and a team-wide, okay, because they said it in earlier videos of their own series and players in interviews. They're like, well, we don't want to conform to the meta because we could play our own style. Well, your own style is not working, so that's it's really hard to say, oh, we want to play our own style and it not work. So
yeah, I think only very few teams could play their own style. I think that,
like, RNG's works very well for them, occasionally. SKT's works for them.
Yeah, I think you can't be full of yourself, and you got to think of, like, let's take a step back, reevaluate the whole team, see what we did wrong as a team, see what we did wrong as individually. And then when you look at and so I'm assuming TL said, okay, we see Xmithie as an issue for some reason, right? Was he so much of an issue that he was so far gone that you couldn't improve it, so you had to buy someone new? And I just don't think that was necessarily the right.
No offense to Jensen, but I mean, he literally ran it down. Like, he actually ran it down. He didn't have a single good game at Worlds.
I think he performed worse in finals, in summer finals, than he did at Worlds. I think during summer finals he did really bad, in my opinion.
Yeah, people were like hyping him up. People were like,
I don't know how he won. I think he won MVP or Player of the Series. How? What?
Meanwhile,
no.
Impact is just going like 1v9. Now forget that guy. He's we don't need that guy. Dude, literally, Jensen lost everyone 1v1 to Nisqy. He got one solo kill. People going nuts. Nisqy literally beat him every single time.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. I thought Nisqy was a good pickup. I don't think he performed well at Worlds, but that was his first Worlds. You got to give him, that. I mean, next year that's not going to be the same excuse.
No excuse. No, if you do bad,
no excuses at all next year.
I want you gone if you're doing that bad. He was invisible.
Yeah. So that's just what I think about the current C9 roster, the current TL roster. But then you got to take a step back, and you're like, when you're evaluating these teams and how they're gonna do, you gotta take a step back, and you gotta look at what your competition is, right?
Yeah.
You have Immortals, which is the roster is like Smithy,
Soaz,
Soaz, who else?
Hakuho, Altec, and Ica.
Yeah, so that roster has the potential of kicking ass, or it has the potential of flopping. I think Xmithy, with his veteran experience, and Soaz with his veteran experience, are gonna know how to lead the team. So you have to be careful when you're playing teams like that. And then you have teams like
Fly-
Dignitas.
Yeah, Dignitas. What was it? Froggen, Huni, Grig, mid laner. Yeah. Froggen, Huni, Grig, Johnson, and Afromu.
Which is actually like
That's not a bad
incredibly well.
team.
It's not a bad team. But then again, when I look at these teams, you kind of see like a bunch of players just thrown in there.
Yeah.
And you got to think to yourself, is this actually going to work, or is it just this just seem good on paper? I mean, I think Johnson could be a really good AD carry.
Thrown together. Talk about Golden Guardians roster. That's thrown together. That's just.
Let's just not even talk about that. That one just kind of makes
people like. I'm not gonna rag on people for being a fan of their team. Go be a fan of TSM, SKT. Go be a fan of freaking Unicorns of Love. But don't sit here and tell me that C9 has to worry about like FlyQuest and 100 Thieves, because like people need to be honest here. They haven't really been relevant. Like 100 Thieves had what, one good year. They have the potential of bouncing back.
Well, like one good split. They have
one good split. FlyQuest have literally. This is FlyQuest's thing. They do well because because they usually have a very serviceable roster, and their serviceable roster is good enough at various points. Once those better rosters with better players gel, FlyQuest is done. It's happened literally. Good spring, bad summer. Good spring, bad summer. I think it's gonna be the same thing next year. I don't think they've shown me anything different. What's 100 Fly Trash? CLG, I mean, are they even really competition? Like people it's not even the C9 group is like, yeah, I'm gonna go root for Evil Geniuses and I'm gonna go root for FlyQuest. Well, you go do that and you can have your team not at Worlds, because what have they showed us that Cloud9 hasn't? The only, I mean, you could argue what's that word? Pedigree. It's pedigree, right? Or a past accomplishments, right? That's the word.
Yeah, like I think you're talking about like what they've done in the past.
Yeah,
like past accomplishments.
They're jump ship because it's sneaky. I mean, you can watch your team at Worlds the same way they are, on your phone or at their monitors. That's where they're gonna be watching Worlds from. I'll be at Worlds kicking world class teams, because no one's gonna tell me that FlyQuest. If I'll bet $1,000, FlyQuest does not go to Worlds. This over TSM? Oh, over TL? Oh, no. That's it. Yeah. What the heck? People are out of their minds.
Yeah, I think though, when you look at a team like Golden Guardians, it seems stupid, right? It's stupid. It's stupid. It's so dumb. You know,
I love my boy Golden Glue.
You don't even see them as a top 5. You don't see them as a top 9 team.
I love shit. But is that like play-in worthy? That might be a play-in stage team at that point. Might be worse than Unicorns of Love. Holy shit. My brain's gonna explode. Team is so bad. Oh, good goodness. Sorry about that.
But you gotta think, you're good. But you gotta think about it, right? Golden Guardians has always kind of run a budget roster. They've run a cheap roster. Now you're gonna have to look at this. They are backed by the Golden State Warriors. These guys have money. So they've been running a cheap roster for these past 2 splits. Next split, I'm willing to bet, or the split after, or the year after, I mean, they're probably going to fuel a really good roster, because they have not been spending a lot of money. They've run a cheap roster, and they've been saving up all this money, and they're gonna start a good roster, and in the next year or 2. That's just how I think about it. If you run these cheap rosters later down the round, or later down the road, you're gonna have more money to build a better roster. TL, they've spent a lot of money on rosters, but they haven't spent too much money on rosters in the past. And I think that's what let them spend a gigantic amount of money on, this roster. And, this roster is just fueling them more and more success, giving them more and more money. That's why they could still run this roster. So, Golden Guardians, it looks grim from them and from the time they've been, but I think later down the line, they're gonna be a good team at one point. Obviously not this split, not next split, I'm assuming, but I got to give credit to Golden Guardians fans, because I respect them. It's hard to be a fan I respect them a lot. I respect them probably more than any fan, because it's hard to be a fan of a team that's losing. It's that's why I absolutely hate like Team Liquid fans or old TSM fans, because they weren't doing it much for like, okay, there's this player, or I just love the synergy, or I just love the roster. It's like, no, you're doing it because they win. You're doing it because TL has won 4 splits in back to back to back to back.
Yeah, because I didn't see those TL fans when they were in relegations in 2017.
Yeah, when Doublelift had a first step in to save their ass from being removed from the league. So, personally, I've been a C9 fan since 2014, and I've stuck with them all the way. I've kind of developed more into, I try to look as the LCS more from a whole perspective rather than, because before I was just kind of more of tunnel vision on, C9, how's C9 doing? I try to look at it more like, how is the league doing? How are the other teams doing? I place myself as a fan in the other teams. I don't run necessarily hate any teams, but I just try to look at it more of an analytical point. I just try to see like, how are these other teams going to do? I don't try to be biased, although sometimes I may sound biased.
It's a tiny bit.
Yeah, just a tiny bit. I like Sneaky. I really am a fan of Sneaky. But at the same time, I totally agree with the move. Was I upset? Absolutely, but it makes sense why they did that. It makes sense, and I agree with it. And you know what? I don't blame Jack for doing that. And I think it's not like a major upgrade. I think it's a tiny upgrade for sure, because when you look at Sven, he is a hardworking guy. He's extremely hardworking. He grinds solo queue like no other. This guy has passion. If you've heard from his other teammates, he works his ass off. So, with someone like Sven with the dedication, and you have a new roster, you have new coaching staff, I think he has the potential to do insane. And that's just what I think about that.
See, even those other team fans, I look at them and I go, where does this really go? Because we had that point when TL was losing a bunch, and then TSM would lose, and those fans would go nuts. Like TSM switching somebody out, oh my god, they would go absolutely insane. And then you look at them and go, it's really hard to say, because if you put yourself in the shoes of another team, I just can't do that. There's a very few things for me that would ever cut me off from a team. And what TSM did last split to Spica, I was like, fuck, that I could literally ruin someone's career right there. He gets thrown into the deep end, a week before playoffs? You're playing playoffs right now, and you're expected to carry us expected to help us win the split. Mm-hmm. People are watching that, scouts, potential team owners, and they failed. They failed miserably, and his career literally could have been over. He's gonna play at TSM Academy next year, but we're just supposed to just forget that. We're supposed to just forget that, right? Yeah. 3 junglers in the past year? Yeah, 3 junglers, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
What is that? And then you tell people that, you tell them your frustration, and then they're mad at you.
Yeah.
All you've said was this is an issue you have. And then TL's problem, what's their only issue?
It's just that international. It's like they really don't have a lot of issues with, personally, I think as players. I just think that internationally they just choke, as always. I mean, I actually can't say that, because they did really well at MSI, and I'm surprised they did so well at MSI and so dog shit at Worlds. But they played much harder opponents at MSI.
But the previous MSI, they didn't even get out of groups.
The previous you're talking about with the roster with Pobelter and
and even that roster didn't make out of groups either. It's just like, I think that, cause I hate using the argument of choking, because did IG choke? In some ways, probably yes. But you have to factor in that doesn't discredit that TL played good either. That's what I hate using the word choking, because you can't just discredit their achievement, yet IG actually did pretty much run it down for 3 games straight.
Yeah.
But the TL's issue is, I think they don't understand that you have to adapt. Adapting is their thing. If you don't adapt, then you're not going to be considered a good team in the world, because adapting is you're able to play multiple different styles, and you're actually much more scarier as a team if you're flexible. But they're just content with being like, well, we're a slow-paced team, we'll get leads and we'll scale. Well, sorry, dude, you're not in Season 5. And if people like Chovy exist in the world, and teams like Griffin and G2, then you're probably not going to be better than them anytime soon.
Yeah, I think what these teams have to do is they have to learn what works for them. You know, they have to figure out their strengths. If it isn't the meta, that is fine.
Yeah.
You don't have to play the meta. Playing the meta is completely out of the fucking window nowadays. Like, you don't need to do that.
Bro, once
It's
I
like-
saw Pike top, I was like, well, there's no meta anymore. It's just like,
Yeah.
play whatever the fuck you want at this
It's
point.
like you play what you want, and if there is a synergy you can combine with your team, like if for some reason what you really want to play and everybody else really wants to play and it works together and it synergizes well, that is what's going to kick ass. That is what's going to win you world champions, summer splits, MSI. That's going to what you win. That's what you're going to win. You just have to find what you want to play and figure out how to play it differently from everybody else. You have to be unexpected. You have to, everybody could play, the same mid laner, even if it's the most busted. But if you're not bringing any innovation to the table and you're not bringing any, personal, like if you don't seem like you're trying to in-depth learn the champ, you learn this, this champion inside out every single corner, and you're not showing that type of commitment to your role, then that's not good. That's what's not going to win you the splits. And I think Sneaky was trying to kind of, okay, I'm going to try to play meta or kind of play like, what I want to play, or, I don't know if he was playing what he wanted to play, but what Reaper was thinking he should play. And, it wasn't what he wanted to play, so he performed bad. I think he probably played the champions he wanted to play the least this season.
Yeah.
And that's why he performed so poorly.
But look at it from Reaper's perspective too. If he sees an underperforming ADC, are you like really obligated to give him carries?
I think when you see an underperforming ADC, you have to sit down with them and talk it out and see what do you think about our picks? What do you want to play?
Yeah.
And how can we make a compromise? How can we play something that I like? Because at the end of the day, it's not the coach playing the game; it's the player playing the game. It's
Yeah.
not Reaper playing; it's Sneaky playing. So if Sneaky doesn't want to play Cassiopeia and he's forced to play Cassiopeia or these other mages or whatever, obviously you're not going to find any success because he's committed to the AD carry role. He's committed to marksman, right? So you're putting him on mages, and then he does it. He knows how to play them. Anybody with Mastery 5 knows how to play champion, but people are expected to know inside out how to play their champion, and you're putting Sneaky on something that he doesn't really know inside out completely.
Yeah.
So you're at an automatic disadvantage with that, and then you put him against world champion AD carries. Like, no fucking way. That's just not going to happen. So I think that's kind of like what has happened, and that's kind of like why C9 hasn't seen a lot of success in the bot lane, and it's just like there's like the marksmen just haven't been how they used to be in the past. So I can't really blame it all on Reaper or Sneaky. It's just the meta just hasn't favored them.
All right. What's the last thing we gotta talk about before I gotta go? Oh, this is what I want to bring up too, because I never had someone else's perspective on this. If you want to talk about this, is everything to anybody in the community, and this is how I feel personally. I don't know how you feel, how anybody else feels who watches this video. At least at this point, is everything and anybody does seems to be like overrated. G2 makes world finals. They're overrated because FPX blew them out 3-0. Fnatic's semifinal run is whack because they may have faced a freak of freaks in their quarterfinals. Who was Fnatic, losing to IG means they're just overrated because they lost to Fnatic. Or what's the other thing I'd mention? TL beating IG at MSI was a fluke because it's IG's fault, and TL, because TL just is that much worse. So what do you feel about that?
I feel like you see these like games where people get blown out, and then you automatically think like, oh, they just had a bad game. Oh, they just choked. But I think they won the game because they were the better team. As much as you'd like to think, oh, they choked. IG, TL beat IG. IG were world champions last year. You think they would have choked at finals, not at MSI semis. I think what you're asking me is like, is there really like, is anybody really like choking, right? Is anybody really
that, and if nobody can see someone's achievement as legitimate and everything is overrated, then what's the point of winning anything? If a good amount of people are just going to see it as, oh, they got lucky. Because I mean, I can argue that. I mean, yes, some people have gotten lucky, like H2K 2016. They clearly got lucky. But other than that, if everything is luck, like if Cloud9, someone told me Cloud9 semifinals means nothing because they lost 3-0. I was like, well, where's your team at? Oh well,
Yeah.
you see what I mean? Like, if little things like that are overrated, then what's the point of accomplishing anything?
In my perspective,
Okay.
if something was a complete choke, if something was a complete fluke, it wouldn't be a 3-0. It wouldn't be, because I would see a fluke more as like, it's 2-2, it's a close game, and someone just throws it. Now that's a throw. That's how you throw a series. That's how you throw a game.
Sven, I'm looking at you, man.
Yeah, that's how you throw it. I don't think if you were to get stomped 3 games in a row, you have 3 opportunities to play and you failed all 3 times. That is not a choke. That is not a fluke. That is, you just got outclassed. Could have IG played better? Absolutely. They could have beat TL if they wanted to. I just think they may have thought they were, full of themselves. And you could apply this to any other team that gets beat 3-0.
Yeah, guys, we're just
maybe
using
they
this
thought,
as an example.
anybody could. Everybody, they probably went in there thinking, okay, TL, who cares? NA, right? We could do this, but
For fun
I think,
region.
yes. But if you underestimate your opponent, then you're more likely to lose. And then, because then you're going to be caught off guard when you actually do lose and you get that 3-0. So my answer is I don't think anything is really necessarily luck, because we look back at last year, C9 beat the last Korean team 3-0. That's not a fluke. They just beat them 3 games in a row. That's just
Yeah,
skill. They just
and
beat them.
one of my, I think I had some friends that said, "Oh my God, Tusa messed up Alistar combos." Yeah, because C9 really cares if my opponent messes up. What the
Yeah.
fuck? I was like, wait a minute. See, this is why I always tell people: your opponent messing up, you just can't factor that in. You're still gonna do what you're gonna do. Them messing up is their own issue. He messed up Alistar combos. That's his issue. So you're telling me that he didn't mess up Alistar combos in scrims? Come on.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, really? It's just that, or people just can't admit that the other team was better. And even when FPX blew out G2, oh my God, well, G2 beat SKT because of luck. No, that's not even how that worked. If you actually watch the series correctly, that's just not even close. FPX already said they were going to beat G2. Scrims showed it. Their picks showed it. They knew every single pick and ban G2 was going to do. They knew every single style they were going to play. See, those are things you can't account for because they're just a better team. But I think the community just needs to understand that not everything is overrated. So if everything is overrated, then G2 winning MSI, the first Western team to win an international title in what? Ever? It was actually ever, right?
Yeah.
Unless you count season 1. Ugh.
Yeah. Nobody ever does, though.
So then people were like, well, I mean, every other team must be that worse if a Western team has to win. I just cannot fundamentally believe that. I'll never be able to believe that. Because that's not how competition works. That's just not how it works in ever.
Yeah, I agree. At the end of the day, the better team is going to win. And I think, especially at the world stage, the better team wins. I don't think there's necessarily, there's people that have good runs, maybe they had a lucky run, or maybe a team they underperformed, but there's no such thing as a team just threw or they just choked, and that's what made them lose. Especially in a best of 5 series, in a best of 1, completely, that makes sense. Best of 1, anything could fucking happen. You could choke in a best of 1, that makes sense. Best of 5s, best of 3s, that's completely different. That's not the same, because you have multiple chances to fix your mistakes, and then if you're not fixing your mistakes, you're just the worst player in the situation. That's just how that works, in my opinion.
Oh my goodness. Oh man, but it's been fun. It's been nice doing this.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me on the podcast. I really
can't wait to have you back again.
Yeah, anytime, man. You just let me know and I'll be on.
Yeah, that last question, that's been irking me, because it does this in my other YouTube channel. People do the same thing. I'm like, guys, if everything is so overrated, achieving anything in life means nothing then.
Yeah.
There's no point in NA improving if it's just going to be overrated. There's no fuck Academy, fuck any of that shit. Do exactly the same thing, do everything the same way, and if it's going to be you, and if no one's going to respect it, what's the point of it?
Yeah. So, I agree.
$1,900. What the heck do people want? What? Oh, my bad. I was reading a text. Holy crap. All right. Anything you want to say before we close out?
No, I just say keep your eyes peeled on next season. I think don't jump to conclusions just yet. This could be anywhere. Any team could place any any ranking. So I'd say just keep your eyes out. See how the don't just automatically judge by the first 5 games of next split. I'd say just pay attention and see how the teams are, working together rather than individually. And then once you evaluate them at that team level, then you can break it down individually instead of just jumping the gun and saying, okay, this player sucks because he underperformed one game and then we have to remove him. I'd say just give people the chance, give Sven a chance, give, all these new people coming in. I'm still giving Brox a chance. Although I think it's a bad move, I'm still giving him a chance. I just say give the new teams a chance and see how they perform instead of automatically assuming, they're going to be dog shit.
I can't wait
Unless
for
it's
those
Golden Guardians.
I can't wait for those week 1 games. Oh my goodness, end all be all.
Yeah.
Week 1 always does it. 2 games from every single team. Oh,
and we already know how they're going to perform at Worlds or something. Like, you got to give it a minute, man.
Oh my god, holy crap. I love people like that. Week 1 performances, they mean everything. That's how it works. So see you guys later. Like, comment, subscribe, most of all, enjoy. What's your website that you write league articles on?
Oh, I'm currently in the process of getting a new one, so whenever we have our next podcast, I'll give you the new one.
All right.
I'm buying like a full domain. So
and then I'll link it in the description box below. Wave Life Esports is signing out. Oh my goodness.